So the first video has ended. We're now into our second video, and for the sake of, we're still working out this technology. So the prayers of the people and the communion that I will lead in shortly, the words that we offer will be sent to everybody via email and letterbox drops. We'll get that out as quickly as possible before we're all told that we can't go anywhere. So what I'd like to do today is simply offer a reflection based upon John 11. So if you want to go and read John 11, press pause, go and read John 11 and come back. And then at the end of that, I'll lead us in a time of communion where I'll invite you to go and again have some material for communion, whether it be your coffee, your tea, it might be a glass of water, or you might have some juice, whatever you have available with some bread or a biscuit, and you can break bread together. If you're by yourself, maybe you want to call somebody and simply be on the line as you listen to this as well. So we have John 11. We have this powerful passage about Lazarus, and there's a lot in there. I won't go into it all. I want to focus on two words, and those two words occur later on in the chapter after we've had a lot of information and a lot of things happening with Mary and Martha and the disciples, and Jesus seemingly being very casual in his approach to this place where his friend has died. And these two words are simply, Jesus wept. It might be in your translation, Jesus began to weep, or Jesus was weeping, but it does have this sense that in the midst of everything else, Jesus pauses and weeps. Weeping is a powerful symbol and an identifier to a reality that is not always visible to the naked eye. And before I go into what I want to say, I want to offer you these words from Debbie Thomas, whom I've referenced before and writes some really fantastic things on the internet. She says a lot of things in response to John 11, and I want to take this snapshot because it's very concise. Let me be clear. In focusing on Jesus' tears, I'm not ignoring or minimising the raising of the dead, the conquering of the grave, the unbinding of the bound. I am a Christian because I believe in resurrection. I believe it as a metaphor and as a symbol. I believe that God can and will bring back to life all that is dead, buried, forgotten, and festering within us. Old wounds, hardened hearts, stubborn addictions, fierce fears. I believe that God is always and everywhere in the business of making us more fully and abundantly alive. Alive to love, alive to hope, alive to each other, alive to Christ, alive to creation. But I believe in more than that. I also believe in literal resurrection. I believe in life after our physical deaths. I believe that the great good news of the gospel is that Jesus actually conquered death. All death, every death, death itself. For me, and I would agree, the love and compassion of a just God requires the making right of every death. Of making right every death humanity has endured. Every death that has left us staggering in shock, in rage, in bewilderment and grief. For me, our horror in the face of death corresponds to an eternal reality. We were not made for the grave. We shudder because something deep and instinctive within us understands that we were created for life. And we feel robbed when life is taken away. For me, the literal raising of Lazarus is a sign that death will not have the last word in our physical embodied lives. We will be raised. They are powerful words. Go back and listen to them again, if so choose. So remember those words as I speak, because I also want to say that we need to hear these two words, Jesus wept. There is a sense that God is grieved. And as we consider what's happening around the world, in all its magnitude, in all its realities. This situation breaks our hearts. It seeps into our souls. We cannot get away from what is happening. Everything screams at us. And it is good for us to hear and to receive these words that Jesus wept. It's not clear what causes Jesus to weep. Is it because Lazarus is dead? Is it because Mary and Martha haven't quite understood what Jesus can do? Because others are not aware of what is truly happening? Does Jesus weep because his own friends and disciples just seem to be stuck in their own view of things? We're not told why Jesus wept, but he did. And I believe it gives us permission to weep for the things which deeply cut our hearts. And we don't need everyone else to understand why we are weeping. There's nothing worse than when you are weeping, having someone coming up to you and saying, "What's wrong? Like, why are you crying? What's the matter?" We don't have to explain it. Jesus certainly didn't. I have this picture of Jesus standing in the middle of the road between his friend's house and the tomb, about to make his way to the tomb. And his friends and his disciples and the family and friends of Lazarus are just standing there watching this man weep. It is legitimate. It is necessary for us to weep for the world, to weep maybe for the isolation we feel in so many ways. Weep for those who face this day without hope, and there will be many. To weep for those we love. We can't touch them, that we can't see them, that we can't be with them. Perhaps they are dying, and we can't be there at that time. And do we weep for people around us who just stand and stare and just don't get it? And I believe that our weeping tears of lament become a balm in time, become a balm for a world in need of care and in need of our love. Our weeping for the great pain of this world. Our weeping for the singular reality of someone we love who has died. Our weeping can be the balm. Our weeping is what helps us on our journey towards wholeness. Jesus wept. We actually have a gift when we shed our tears. It places us in the realm of being patient, of listening to our hearts, and therefore listening to the heart of God as well. When we weep, we are taking a moment, and it might only be a moment, just to acknowledge our own pain, our grief, our sense that this is something that we cannot make better. But I also believe that when we weep, we can discover a strength in weakness. Because you see, from this place of weeping where Jesus is, Jesus moves, he walks, he goes somewhere with purpose. From his place of weeping, he moves towards a tomb where he gives instructions. Move aside the stone. Let's clear away what obstacles we need to get rid of. And he prays. He prays for what he's about to do is the business of his Father. This is not a personal whim that he's going to enter into because it'll make him feel better. He's doing something that will reveal the glory of God. And he then calls Lazarus to life. From his place of weeping, which might seemingly be inappropriate or overwhelming or useless even, Jesus has the capacity to do something of grace, of wonder, of welcoming resurrection into a world that says weeping has no purpose. And in that place,